During the lockdown, we clapped them, and then we laid wreaths for healthcare staff who had died on the front line. And how quickly our nurses have gone from the country's heroes to this government's villains, offered a derisory 72 pence a week pay rise, and then painted as militants for daring, having the audacity for balloting for industrial action for the first time in a century. Prime Minister, claps don't pay the bills, and neither does 72 pence pay rise. Nurses are leaving the NHS and the droves feeling abandoned by this government. Surely even the Prime Minister agrees that the government has its priorities wrong when unshackling the bonuses of the bankers and at the same time offering derisory pay rises to our treasured NHS staff.
Well, first of all, can I say what a brilliant job our fantastic nurses do across the country. And the figures he's quoting are simply wrong. The independent pay review body recommended a £1,400 rise on average, and that is what the government's committed to delivering. I notice that the honourable gentleman had a Damascus conversion last night when he backed our cut to national insurance.
Keir Starmer.
Mr. Speaker, the economy is in turmoil. People are really worried. This is really not the time to descend into absolutely nonsense attacks about last night. There's no point trying to hide it. Everyone can see what has happened. The Tories went on a borrowing spree, sending mortgage rates through the roof. They are skyrocketing by £500 a month. And for nearly 2 million homeowners, their fixed-rate deals are coming to an end next year. They're worried sick, and everybody in this House knows it. They won't forgive. They won't forget, and nor should they. When will she stop ducking responsibility, do the right thing, and reverse her kamikaze budget, which is causing so much pain?
Mr. Speaker, last night the Labour Party supported bringing down national insurance. And is he really?
I want to hear the Prime Minister. I'm sorry if her own party doesn't, but I certainly do. Prime Minister.
There as well. I would have hoped that if the Prime Minister is making public spending commitments today, that she would have said that those that rely on social security benefits will get their benefits uprated in line with inflation. Mr. Speaker, when the Prime Minister last stood at the dispatch box, the average 2-year fixed-rate mortgage stood at 4.5%. They are now at 6.5% and rising, hitting average families with an extra £450 a month in mortgage payments every single month over and above what they were paying. 37 days into the job, this is literally the cost of the Prime Minister's incompetence. It is the price households are paying, and all because of the Chancellor that she chose. Will she now give up her desperate plan to save her Chancellor's skin by scapegoating the Governor of the Bank of England?
Mr. Speaker, the action we have taken has meant that families in Scotland and across the United Kingdom are not facing gargantuan energy bills. And what the honourable gentleman and his friends in Scotland could do to help us out is build the nuclear power stations that are going to help our energy security, help us get more gas out of the North Sea to help deliver on a more secure energy future for all of our people.
In Blackford.
Mr. Speaker, if she wants to ask us questions, we can swap places.
But, the Prime Minister wants us to believe that fracking will reduce our energy bills, but it was not so long ago that her Chancellor said that those calling for fracking's return misunderstand the situation and that no amount of shale gas would be enough to lower the European price any time soon. So, Prime Minister, is the Chancellor wrong about that?
That's right, Justin.
We are pulling every lever to improve our energy supply in Britain, whether it's the North Sea and opening up more opportunity there, which the opposition front bench are against, whether it's fracking whether it's more renewables, which I'm very supportive of, whether it's more solar panels in the right place, whether it's more nuclear power stations, which are opposed by the SNP. We are doing everything we can because we can never be in a situation again where we are dependent on authoritarian regimes for our energy.
The business secretary toured the TV studios arguing that the turmoil in the markets has nothing to do with her budget. Does the Prime Minister agree with him?
Well, Mr. Speaker, what we have done is we have taken decisive action. We have taken decisive action to make sure that people are not facing energy bills of £6,000 for 2 years. And I think we remember the opposition is only talking about 6 months. We've also taken decisive action to make sure that we are not facing the highest taxes for 70 years in the face of a global economic slowdown. And what we're making sure is that we protect our economy at this very difficult time internationally. And as a result of our action, Mr. Speaker, and this has been independently corroborated, we will see higher growth and lower inflation.
Mr. Speaker, avoiding the question, ducking responsibility, lost in denial. No wonder investors have no confidence in her government.
Prime Minister, you have had a holiday check, I think, in Birmingham where you're preaching to the choir, although the few MPs appear to be singing from a different song sheet. Prime Minister, your government is now outrageously flirting with disaster, financially and socially. We've just heard the increase in mortgage repayments will dwarf the rise in heating bills. How will you cope with the resultant increase in homelessness?
I'm responsible as you, but I'm sure the Prime Minister will take that on board.
Well, Mr. Speaker, what we have done as a government is we've acted decisively to deal with the very severe energy crisis we are facing. We are facing a severe energy crisis. We're also facing a slowdown in economic growth globally due to Putin's war in Ukraine, and not acting is not an option.
Prime Minister is ignoring the damage of the chaos of the mini-budget. She is worrying about saving the Chancellor's job, but many families are now worried not just about heating their homes, but keeping their homes, Prime Minister. The scale of this Tory crisis is frightening. 100,000 households a month are up for mortgage renewals. People can't afford to pay an extra £4,500 a year in interest, and plenty are already falling behind. The Prime Minister and her Chancellor have completely lost control. The only thing growing under this government are mortgages, rents and bills. Is that what she really meant when she declared herself a pro-growth Prime Minister?
The government's botched budget gave unfunded tax cuts to some of the richest companies, whilst across the country there are hospitals who worry that their roofs might collapse at any moment. Hitchinbrook Hospital, Frimley Park Hospital and Queen Elizabeth Hospital in the Prime Minister's own local area. These are just three of a number of hospitals who need hundreds of millions of pounds, some of them urgently. So will the Prime Minister promise that every affected hospital will be given the money they need to fix these dangerous roofs in the next 12 months?
Well, I do want to correct the Honourable Lady, because what we are doing is simply not putting up corporation tax. It's not a tax cut. We're just not raising corporation tax. And I feel it would be wrong in a time when we are trying to attract investment into our country at a time of global economic slowdown to be raising taxes, because it will bring less revenue in. And the way that we are going to get the money to fund our National Health Service, the way that we're going to get money to fund our schools, is by having a strong economy with companies investing and creating jobs. Mr. Speaker, I'm genuinely unclear as to what the Labour Party's policy is on our energy price guarantee. It was the biggest part It was the biggest part of our mini-budget. Are the opposition saying they want to reverse it and they want to see people facing energy bills of £6,000? Is that what he's saying?
Keir Starmer.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister knows very well that on this side we voted against the national insurance in the first place. She voted for it. So who's doing the U-turn? Honestly.
I'm not sure how you measure a good honeymoon, Mr. Speaker. But after 5 weeks of a crisis conceived in Downing Street of crashing pensions, interest rates rising, mortgage market turmoil and complete financial chaos, the country has been left wanting divorce. In 2 recent polls, 60% of this country want an immediate general election. The Prime Minister claims she's in listening mode. Will she give way to the public?
Mr. Speaker, I think the last thing we need is a general election.
That concludes Prime Minister's questions. Let the people leave.